Okay, another way to change your state, as we all know, ladies, is eating and drinking. We're all good at that. And I just wanted to talk a little bit longer on that, more in depth. It won't be super long, don't worry. But it's more about it's a state change that causes us. We're looking for a way to feel better. So, for example, when we reach for the chocolate, we're actually trying to feed something that's not making us happy inside. We've had a drop in our sugar levels, quite typically. But it's also, and I love this analogy, especially with chocolate. Gabor Mate was saying, he talks about attachment theory, with the whole thing of when we're little babies, you are nurtured and feel safe when you are getting milk from your mum. So as you're getting that milk from your mum, it's like, it's warm, I'm connected, I feel safe, it's filling my tummy, it's giving me nourishment. Milk, a mother's milk, is quite often a little bit sweet. It's got that milky texture. Now, chocolate is the mother's milk equivalent, okay? With the added extra sugar component, often with some other flavorings to add to that. So quite often it's what is the need that it is that you're trying to fill, okay? There is something going on there that is like, oh, I just reached for the chocolate. Like, I've got one friend and she says, oh, Vix, it's terrible. There's... I just can't kick it. I sit down on the couch at night and we will, between her and her partner, they will flatten an entire bar of chocolate every night or close enough. That's their connection time. So she has actually compounded her scenario by associating time with her man, watching TV, a nice movie or whatever it is that they're doing, and getting a real, what I call, payoff. The payoff of eating chocolate is a serious payoff for her. She's getting the love by being with her man. She's getting external stimulation, typically watching a nice movie, a romantic movie or a comedy or whatever the case might be. She's getting the internal as well of the high sugar, the milkiness, and of course the endorphin release that comes from it as well. But now here's the downside, as we always know. The consequence of which will tend to be that if you actually ate a bar, not a small bar, like a big bar, even a small bar, if you ate a bar of chocolate every single day, what is that going to do for your health overall? Are you going to be putting on weight? Yes, most certainly. Are you going to feel good about yourself? Most probably not. You're going to have to get bigger clothes. You're not going to feel good about yourself. With that, you've always got to look at the why. What's sitting behind? What's the driver for that behavior? And as you see, effectively, remember I was talking about with NLP, we always understand that behind every negative behavior, there's a positive intention. The positive intention for perhaps that friend of mine is that, she just wants to relax and feel loved, okay? And that is a way that she has now conditioned her body to accept that that's what's going to happen. The downside, of course, would be that ultimately that might impact, I'm not saying it will, but you certainly increase your chances, don't you? If you eat unhealthily like that on an ongoing basis every single day, and just, this is an exercise. I mean, you can just close your eyes now. Like, it might be something that you drink, my brother, my younger of my two brothers, he was into his Coca-Cola a lot. Every single day he drank Coke like you wouldn't believe. And he used to get acid reflux. And, my sister and I think that maybe that's, contributed to that because, sugar is not great, creates, you've got a lot of caffeine in Coca-Cola again. there's other soft drinks as well. I'm not just picking Coke, by the way. And, you know, to be honest, it's like, if that's your thing and you don't want to let it go, then so be it. But I would be saying, what is the driver that's sitting behind it that causes that? And, you know, people can get to the point where they actually justify it. Like with my young brother, it was he just took a lot of antacid tablets. Now that he's kicked the habit of drinking Coca-Cola, he doesn't need those acid reflux tablets. You know, the last time we went out there, I don't think he took one. And if he did, it was like rare. But I mean, before he used to carry it like in his pocket, you know, and it was like, you got to be asking yourself, is that serving you? You know, and he did get rid of it. So it was great. But the positive intention behind it, the payoff outweighs the consequence of not doing it. So we in NLP, what we want to do is go, right, what's driving that behavior? Let's have it where we can achieve the same outcome, but we do it in a different way. So we just put on a different pair of shoes. And when you can start getting an image in your brain, in fact, I might actually look at doing, there's one exercise that I think that would really help you guys with if you ever want to do it. I'll put it, I'll look to doing that exercise. It's an NLP technique. And effectively what we do is we collapse that old route of, oh, I just want to eat or drink that particular food to change my state, to having it where there's more of a payoff to not doing it than to doing it. So there is a strategy, there's a particular technique that we do where we collapse that and then we replace it with this new one. And then what we do is we call it future pacing, where we actually test what it is that, you know, what the new, like if you're presented with that scenario where you would probably have eaten that chocolate or drunk that drink or whatever the case might be, that you actually replace it with the positive and you collapse it to the point that the trigger now, you've got to identify the trigger. Remember, we talked all about the triggers. This is all part of that whole thing. Got to be aware of it first. Half the time people just don't know. They just reach for it. You know, they're in such automatic drive. They're so unconsciously, you know, competent that, remember, I spoke about that. And if you haven't watched that video, please do go back and watch that. You want to get to that point where you go, oh, I just automatically just picked that up. I just ate the entire, and this is what this friend was saying. She said, do you know, I can just flatten a bar. If it's there, I just eat it. And before I know it, I go, oh my God, that was I ate the whole bar by myself. And it wasn't a small bar either, you know, of that chocolate. And it's like, when you're automatically just doing that at a subconscious level, who's running the show here? Are you running the show, or is the subconscious, the automatic driver that sits inside, running the show? So you really want to get to a point where that's not happening for you. You really want to get out of someone else running the vessel and your life, and you consciously running and presently running your life, going, you know, with your shoes on your path, your own way. But, you know, you want to change your state, but it's like, why do I always do that? Like, what's that all about? So I would like you to please put in, you know, the comments box, or, you know, if you want to, the Facebook channel as well, just tell me things that you just go, I automatically just do that. I mean, like, we've all got them. Like, there's no shame in this. Every lady, every man on the planet has this. Nobody is great. Like, you know, I'm like really big on my tea. You know, it used to be coffee. I kicked that habit years ago. Green tea though, man. But at least it's a healthy option. But I tell you what, if you gave me dark chocolate, no problem. I do tend to minimize it though, because I'm conscious, you know. I do my 2 little squares and that's it, you know, because I go, no brain, you're not allowed to have that. And then, you know, it might be, I have this policy, zigging and zagging, and I'll talk about that as well. As long as you zig more than you zag, then you're fine. So, you know, there's going to be times where you will allow yourself to splurge, and it's okay. And don't feel guilty for when you do. Okay, so that's my zigzag rule, is like, zig more than you zag, then you're fine. Okay, keep you more on the healthy track. The payoff of choosing better food, better, you know, drink, better, you know, everything, you know, how I'm thinking, everything, it's all about that. What shoes am I wearing? Bringing the attention to it. What's triggering me? How do I, scratch that record and go, do you know what? I don't like those pair of shoes anymore. I'm just going to biff them. I'm now going to replace them with this. I'm going to use that technique in order to be able to get rid of those completely. I'm going to repeatedly do, or I'm going to use multiple techniques out of my emotional toolkit bag that, those little techniques that I sell, not expensive, that you can purchase. And you can go, right, I'm going to try out this technique that Vicky's talking about, and I'm going to collapse it so that next time when I reach for that piece of chocolate, I go, actually, do you know what? I'm not eating that whole bar. I'm going to take 2 little pieces. I'm going to put it on my little plate. Once that's gone, that's it. I'm not having any more. And then it's collapsing it to the point where it's like, oh, okay, I get more benefit from losing weight, feeling healthier about myself, making better choices, knowing that I look good, not having bad skin because I'm eating the wrong kind of stuff or drinking the wrong kind of stuff. If it's alcohol drink, then it's like I don't feel like, I'm not having a hangover. Today, it's a bonus because now I kick my drinking boots off, and I don't have a hangover, which means I can go out and have a whole day with friends, having fun in a good, healthy way. And I'd much rather have that than a hangover and sleep for most of the day and miss out. And for me personally, I mean, that was where I got to with my drinking. If I'm honest, it was just like I got so sick and tired of missing out. Time is precious. It is one commodity you will never, ever, ever get back. So don't blow it. It's like once those minutes and hours have gone, that's it. It's gone, baby. You can't get it back. Do you want to be sleeping through that with a hangover? Or, for other people, it might be, drugs or whatever. Do you want to be, have a shortened lifespan because of your, over drinking unhealthy drinks, eating unhealthy food? What kind of quality of life do you want now and further down the line? What kind of energy levels are you going to get? When you start getting that there's far more payoffs for not doing that bad behavior than there is doing the good behavior, far more benefits to not doing the bad stuff and actually making a healthier, good choice, saying I'm not going to put myself in that shoes. I'm actually going to step in this shoes, and I'm going to walk in these shoes, on this path, on the healthy path, every single day to break my state. That driver is the emotional side not getting sorted. And you go, I'm just going to break this out. I'm going to go and do my exercise instead, or I'm going to, do yoga in front of the TV instead of eating the chocolate, or, I'm going to eat a healthy meal with my partner instead of eating a whole bar of chocolate. Or it might be, that we go out together and do something that's good and nurturing for the soul. Now, if there's obviously a negative driver, if there's something I quite often find that overeating, there is the Overeaters Anonymous, it's the same as the Narcotics Anonymous and the AA, the Alcoholics Anonymous. Overeaters, quite often, if it's not a physiological condition, I quite often find that there is a proper negative driver that's sitting behind it. Not uncommon for people to have had low self-esteem, some kind of level of, dare I say, abuse, or have had some kind of attack that they either consciously or subconsciously don't remember for protective reasons, or and I'm not saying everybody that's fat has this, or has got overweight issues, and not everybody is fat. A lot of people are just overweight or whatever, and don't jump to conclusions here. But I do want you to know that if you're not getting the results going in these shoes on the right path, going in the right direction, there is quite possibly something that you need to work with a coach, a trained coach. And if it's something really deep-seated, get the proper specialist on board. Don't just go to someone who's done a weekend course and do whatever. use my, resilience tools to get rid of those smaller seeded kind of things that, they just, it's a whole lot, and it builds up, and then explodes. If you decompress all the time, then that stops that from happening. But if it's a deep-seated issue, you've got to get to the bottom of it and have it in a controlled environment with someone who's got multiple skills and multiple tools with experience that can actually help you get out of that. And you'll have tremendous results if you find the right person. You've got to find the right person who's credible. Do your research really carefully. I don't want you going off and making matters worse for yourself. So, really good to change your state, but that's a case of when we wear our shoes and to change a state, but we're making the wrong state change. It gives you temporary relief, but not that long term. Whereas the new state change, more healthier choices, gives you the long term, long sustainable kind of results that are going to pay off for years and years and years to come quite often. So hope you found that useful. Do you know what would be useful for me to know is, where do you go with my leaning is to go down the chocolate route, or the, my wine in the evenings, or it might be peanut butter and do they do jelly over here? I don't know what they do. Peanut butter, we don't do nuts in our family, so I don't know, the allergies, that's why. I used to love them, but I can't do them anymore. So not for me, for my son. But anyway, so getting back on track, what about you? Just tell me what ways do you try to change your state that the payoff ultimately you recognize is a disservice to you? What are those shoes? Tell me what they are. I got my chocolate eating shoes on, I've got my wine drinking shoes on, I've got my whatever it is. And maybe look at, let's start getting committed. Maybe you can go, right, look, I've decided I am not going to do that. And this is what I'm going to do. I now know that that's a concern for me. I'm going to now put on this pair of shoes, and that's going to be no chocolate, or I'm going to reduce the amount of chocolate for the next week to half a bar, quarter of a bar, 2 squares. Because if you go full out, then the body rejects completely. It just goes into shell shock. So do be aware of that. Sometimes you need to chunk down slowly. Other people like to just go hard. That is a personality thing. Like, I'm a go hard person. I just make my mind up, bang, like that. I tend to have more success that way. So you don't run the risk of overdoing it. But some people, again, just go internally, get tuned into yourself, SELF, your center, your higher self. Go, right, what's the best way for me? Don't have it as an excuse, though. If you're just using it, so it's like, oh no, I'll do the two squares of chocolate next week, not this week. Don't use that as an excuse, okay? Actually commit to it. Go, right, do you know what? I think this is the way. Or, you know what? I think I'm that person who's just got to go, nah, not going to happen. I'm not doing that anymore. Bang, done. And that's my personality type, when you commit. And I get a lot of traction with my clients who really full on do that. But if it's too much of a shell shock, go easy. But go internal. Your shoes, your path, your way. Hope you found that useful. Look forward to finding out what your answers are. Please share, like, subscribe, and ask some ladies to come join. This is all about you guys and getting you on your own path, your own way. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for your time. Namaste.